Hi, I'm Angie Bauma. I'm the Senior Conservation Ecologist at the Grand Traverse Regional Land Conservancy. And today I am here at the Mitchell Creek Meadows Don and Jerry Olson Nature Preserve. In addition to land protection, land stewardship is core to our mission. And we are entrusted by you, our supporters, to take care of the lands that we have protected. Ensuring the health and resilience of our natural lands is a complex and daunting challenge. But thanks to support from you, we have 2 new ways of enhancing our restoration on protected lands, including the native plant greenhouse to our left and the goat barn to our right here. Today I will walk us through how the native plant greenhouse will help with these restoration efforts. And Sam Griffin, our land steward and manager at Misty Acres Farm, will review the role that the goats play in our restoration efforts as well. To understand why a greenhouse is a critical tool for habitat restoration, we first have to understand the impacts of invasive species and why it's important to replace them with native plants where we can. Invasive plants are non-native species that quickly displace native plants and alter our natural ecosystem functions. We have a high priority species list that we focus on. Not all non-native plants are invasive, but there are about 1% that are able to quickly displace native species and alter ecosystem functions. So after habitat loss, invasive plants are the second greatest threat to species biodiversity. Native plants are species that have been in a location or ecoregion for thousands of years and are co-evolved with the local insect and bird and wildlife populations to provide the maximum ecological services of a habitat in our region. Native plants are adapted to the local conditions of the soil, weather, the spacing and timing of the plant, the timing of the bloom, the timing of the leaf out. Everything is adapted to that site, and therefore the pollinators are adapted to that cycle. So they provide a critical nectar source for our native insect species, which goes up the food chain and provides protein to nesting bird species and the animals that depend on them, like a classic food web. So they're the foundation of our native ecosystems. The greenhouse offers us the ability to collect seeds from the site, grow them in the greenhouse, and plant them back on the site. And this helps keep the local genotype as pure as possible. The plants that you see here were collected on site by a great group of volunteers. And even though the site was heavily impacted and degraded, there were still native plant species found on site. And they were able to collect seeds over the last few years. The seeds were cleaned and dried and stored. And then in the winter of 2023, we did cold moist stratification on some of the species that required it. And they were planted in March. And so they are going to be planted back out in the area surrounding the conservation center mostly, so that we can continue to use these as a seed source for other projects around our service area.
Hi, my name is Sam Griffin. I'm the Misty Acres Farm Manager and Regional Land Steward here at the Conservancy. And today we're out in the field on the preserve portion of Mitchell Creek Meadows to talk a little bit about land restoration and some of the techniques we use to control invasives. Often the first step of habitat restoration is getting a handle on invasive species in the area. One of the ways we choose to do this in an eco-friendly manner is by having a goat herd here on the property. So a lot of people wonder why we use goats. A few of the reasons we have chosen to use goats to help us control invasive species here on the property is, one, they help control a lot of invasive species that would be very difficult to manage otherwise. Autumn olive can grow in very thick and spread very rapidly, so they help us fight it back in an eco-friendly manner. On top of that, they are lower impact compared to having high-intensive machinery, for example, to come in and clear out the autumn olive from an area. And along with low impact, they're also extremely cost effective. So versus having a 5-man crew with machinery and maybe 40 to 80 hours of time invested, we can have the goats out here 24/7 for a week with a little bit of time given by staff and volunteers to make sure they're healthy and have water, and they will clear out the area for us. So the goats are housed here year-round. We have provided a goat barn and various other infrastructure for them. This is critical in that it allows us to give the most amount of time possible for the goats to do work on Mitchell Creek Meadows Preserve. With the preserve being centrally located in a degraded watershed, by doing invasive species work here first and restoring this habitat, it's going to help leverage the area. Along with that, having the barn in a centrally located area to our service region, this will also allow us to deploy goats to other areas in the future and have a centrally located home base. One of my favorite benefits of having the goat herd here is because they are so charismatic and fun to watch. It's a great way to engage the public and help communicate the piece of why it's so important to control invasive species in a habitat restoration area. Goats are fun to interact with and watch, and while we do encourage folks to come and view them from afar, we do ask that you do not approach them. With the equipment we use to help house the goats while they're out working, we do use mobilized fence that is electrified, and there is also potential of added goat stress if there's too much public interaction on a daily basis. By adding an invasive species munching goat herd to our stewardship program here at Mitchell Creek Meadows, it not only helps us improve the habitat to allow native plants to flourish in the newly open spaces, but it also gives folks the opportunity as they're exploring the property to bump into the goats and watch restoration work happen right before their eyes.
Invasive species, climate change, and other factors are incredible threats to our region and the biodiversity on our protected lands. But thanks to these two facilities, we're able to address these issues with the help and support of donors and volunteers. And if you'd like to learn more information, please check out our website at www.gtrlc.org. Thanks so much.